Today we're going to be taking a look at 75083 ATDP. This set was released all the way back on January 1st of 2015 and then later retired on December 31st of the same year, giving it a lifespan of only 1 year compared to the typical 2-year lifespan for LEGO Star Wars sets. It has 500 pieces and had an original retail price of $50, making for a perfect price per piece of 10 cents. Although if you want this set new sealed in the box today, you're going to be looking at paying around $180. And taking a look at the box, you can see the amazing 2015 Rebels box art, which remains one of my favorites to this day. And also, as you might notice, this is a pretty big box, especially for a $50 set. And taking a look at the back here, you can see a nice display of all the features, as well as some advertising for lego.com at the bottom right. And another thing I really appreciate about this box is just the overall gray color scheme. It's a lot different from the typical either all black or all white color scheme that we usually get with Star Wars box arts. And it's also cool that it has the Rebellion symbol printed on it throughout places around the box. It also comes with a very large instruction manual as well. And when taking a look inside, you can see that it is very spaced out and limited looking, and I actually really like that throughout the building process. And then flipping around to the back, you will have your piece inventory on 2 separate pages, as well as advertising for all of the minifigures that came in the sets from the wave that this set was released in, although no advertising for the actual sets, which is kind of strange. Moving on to the figures, starting off with the infamous Rebels Stormtrooper. As you might know, a lot of people don't like this Stormtrooper due to the helmet design, but this is nothing on LEGO's part because they basically made this figure 100% accurate to the source material, because they did design new Stormtrooper helmets for the Star Wars Rebels TV show, and LEGO pretty much represented that 100% accurately here, so it's really nothing on them. And I don't think it's the best Stormtrooper design LEGO's ever given us by any means, although I don't think it looks bad, and it definitely doesn't look as bad as the ones that we have today, although it doesn't look as good as maybe the 2014 variant or even the original variant that was used in the 2000s. But regardless, I still think it looks good, and it's a great inclusion in this set. Next up here we have the ATDP Pilot, which is unironically one of my favorite minifigures in my collection. I think they just look really unique, and they're sort of a precursor to the ATST driver. I love their white helmets, and I especially love their headpieces, and you do get 2 of them in this set, as it does take 2 pilots to pilot the ATDP. And then lastly, we have Agent Kallus, who has slowly become a pretty valuable figure over the years, because besides the ATDP, he only appeared in one other set, being 75158 Rebel Combat Frigate, which retailed for $110. And now Agent Kallus himself is going for around $60, give or take. And I think he looks pretty good, although a downside is that he doesn't have a leg printing, but you can pretty easily look past that. And then he does have his staff here, which is basically just 2 blasters connected by a lightsaber hilt, but regardless, he gets the job done, and it does look pretty good. And then he also has 2 face prints. One is going to be sort of this frowny face, and then the other is going to be this face with a grin on it. And overall, for a $50 set, I think this was pretty much a perfect minifigure lineup. And I'll even go so far to say that LEGO went a little bit overkill with including the Stormtrooper, as if this set was released today, we would probably just get the 2 pilots and maybe some other figure that probably wouldn't even be Agent Kallus. LEGO decided to give us Agent Kallus along with the pilots and a Stormtrooper, and it was pretty much flawless. Now moving on to the actual model itself, I think it looks really good. As you can see here, it looks really good as a display piece, and it is actually pretty big and in fact minifigure scale, which makes for some great playability and displayability. And taking a look at the legs here, you can see there are some yellow pieces along with some stickers for some detail, and there also are quite a few Technic pieces exposed, although they're not too noticeable. And then the back of the legs don't look the best, they're really just the underside of all the bricks used to make the legs, although there's really not much LEGO could do here besides use inverted tiles, and I'm not even sure if LEGO made inverted tiles in 2015. If they did, correct me on that. And then up on the top on the head here, there is this ball turret that can move around obviously, and then on the sides there are these big dome pieces that are printed, as well as a sticker towards the back. And also, in my opinion, LEGO did a really good job at capturing the head of the ATDP. In universe, it does have a pretty awkward and wonky shape, and I just think LEGO did a pretty impressive job at capturing it. Although I think where this set lacks just a little bit is on the back of the head here. There is quite a bit exposed, and there is a pretty large gap between the actual head and then the top of the legs, which is a good thing because that is pretty accurate, because the actual ATDP is pretty gappy looking, although I just don't know if LEGO really executed it in the best way possible here. But it's really not that big of a deal. It's really the only negative thing about this set, and it's really just a small nitpick. And there are actually some spring-loaded shooters hidden under there underneath the head, and actually if you turn the head too far to the left or the right, the spring-loaded shooter will fire on its own, which sort of does make for a cool play feature actually, like the ATDP is kind of looking side to side and then firing, although obviously if you don't want to do that, you can just stick your finger up in there and fire it manually. And as you might have noticed, there is this big hatch on the top that you can lift up to get inside of the ATDP here, and this actually is kind of interesting as it actually sort of rotates on 2 different points of axis. As you can see here, here's a better look at it. It sort of rotates up at the bottom, and then it rotates up again at the top and completely closes, and I just think it's a pretty interesting design, as well as this other piece here that's on a hinge that can rotate, although you sort of have to have your thumb under here and pinch it, otherwise the top of it will just break off. Now on the inside there are 2 seats for the ATDP pilots, and there's no studs, they're just white tiled off seat with sort of those pieces pieces that hold their legs into place, and there's also no type of control panels or anything in there like that, which is a little bit disappointing. But regardless, you can load your pilots into there, and they're sort of seated in this staggered kind of stadium seating, and I think it looks really good and it is accurate to the source material. And again, you actually get 2 pilots in this set, which is really nice. It's not another Republic gunship situation where you get 2 seats for 2 pilots, but only 1 pilot included. And then lastly, on the very top at the back, there is this little hatch here that can open up where you can put one of your pilots and sort of make him look like he's popping his head out at the top and looking around or looking for things on the ground to shoot with his pistol. I honestly think this is a really cool play feature and looks absolutely amazing for displayability, especially along with the rest of the minifigures at the bottom. This overall is just a pretty great set. And again, in 2023, we would not get a set this size with this many minifigures for only $50. Like I said, if this set was re-released, it would probably only have 3 minifigures, being the 2 pilots and then 1 extra minifigure to go along with them. The Stormtrooper is honestly just a bonus for today's standards. And like I mentioned, there are a few nitpicks here and there, like Agent Callus not having leg printing, or there being a lot of exposure on the back of the head of the walker. But like I said, those are just really small nitpicks. So I'm going to go ahead and give this set a 9.5 out of 10. Really the only thing taking that 0.5 off is again just the exposure on the back of the head, which I think LEGO could have done a little bit better. Let me know what you think about this set in the comments below, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on the end screen right now.